I joined Luke Belmar's $599 a month private network called Capital Club, and I tried all of the courses inside there. And so I'm going to be reviewing all of them, taking you through my experience in every single one, what they have to offer, what you can expect inside, including a bonus secret one if you watch till the end. So first we're going to cover the e-commerce sections, obviously because this channel is mainly about dropshipping and e-commerce. So it only makes sense. So the first ecom course which I watched is called the e-commerce brand playbook. So this course is basically taught by Alex Chen, and if you're in the scene you might know who he is. He basically runs a sports brand called Bright Sport that sells glow-in-the-dark basketballs and glow-in-the-dark sports equipment. Quite a big brand. He's been making quite a lot of money with it, and since I started a brand earlier this year I kind of figured this would be a good start. This is kind of a course which will help me in a way because it's a little bit different to the strategies I use in e-commerce for dropshipping, and some strategies are a little bit different to general dropshipping when you are starting a brand, for example. So he's done 8 figures, so this was a course which I was interested in. So it's basically split into 7 different modules, right? So you have module 1, this is an introduction to actually branding and the difference between dropshipping and also branding, or branded dropshipping if you're still using dropshipping, right? Module 2, so this outlines product research. So he shows you how to use the meta ad library for an example, so that's Facebook ads library, and how to get inspiration for products from AliExpress to actually try and find a product in the initial phase. How to do market research, so looking at other brands, looking at competitors, how fulfillment works when you're actually buying initial inventory, and then also the shipping times and the importance of scaling with a reliable supplier. And he does actually give you a supplier as well as an example, so if you don't have one, that could also be a useful resource for you. Module 3, so this section is basically where you start to begin to actually learn to create that brand. So I'm talking about how to create a brand identity, how to structure your store, how to create some brand awareness and some hype behind the actual brand, how to introduce your products then to the public who are following you, and what makes a good winning ad when we're actually marketing. And he does show a few examples too of some winning ads. So we're talking about brands like High Smile, for an example, is one of the ones which he shows. So there is actual real case studies and examples. Now module 4, leading on, it only makes sense. This one is about marketing. So he basically talks about ad channels which will produce the best results for you. So these are ones which help to create cash flow, for an example. How A/B testing can be really useful with testing your ads to then get data to see where you're getting the best results from. Basics of Facebook ads then for testing and then scaling products, and then also how to utilize Google ads as a channel to also leverage search and discovery ads, which can be also beneficial too. We'll be talking a little bit more about Google ads because there's another course in Capital Club about that, which we'll cover a little bit later in this video. This section also covers overcoming tracking shortcomings. So if you've been running ads, you'll know that Facebook sometimes either over-report or under-report the data you get. So it might say you've got 5 purchases, but you only got 1. So he talks about using software like Triple Whale, for an example, to actually make sure everything's being tracked properly, so you're not wasting money by scaling something which isn't profitable, or so you're not scaling something which is actually making you money, so you can fix that. Okay, so then towards the end of the module he talks about leveraging social marketing, so social media marketing, aka influencer marketing, and how to get more consistent results with it. So this is a pretty good whole section encompassing growth and just general marketing for the brand, and I thought it was a pretty good section all in all. Module 5, so module 5 I'd say very useful structured module. The reason I joined Capital Club and why I'm trying to kind of source these high level courses is I've kind of broke out of that beginner to advanced level, right? Or at least beginner to intermediate. I'm teaching intermediate and advanced tier things, so I'm only trying to learn from the advanced methods at this point, and these courses are at that level. Now what I do like about this is this covers team building. So I've only hired one person from my store that I'm currently running right now, so I basically just have customer service. So this is a really interesting thing when you get to the high level that some of these people like Alex has actually got to. So basically he talks about how to build out a team, so his team structure. So I've learned the team structure from a few different courses now, so it's been really useful. He talks about his team structure and then how to actually find the talent to build that team up, the pros and cons of hiring a team in general in-house, and also the comparison between hiring in-house, your own team, and then hiring an agency, and how they kind of differ, the whole experience, and then also how to automate your business once you've actually built that team, because you want to kind of hire and replace the skills which you're doing, so you can kind of just not really be lazy, but kind of automate your business and have less stress. So this is a really good section, and I think if you've kind of been through the basics of e-com and dropshipping, this is kind of the section which is going to give you some real value. Now module 6, Alex. So this is basically giving tips on international shipping, how to mitigate cash flow problems. So when you run into kind of like payment holds and blocks, the benefits of Shopify Plus, which is interesting. So you might know there's a lot of stores out there, like big ones. For example, Sam Lawnua, one person I follow, he basically shows Icon Amsterdam as brand, and he's talked about using Shopify Plus, which lets you have like stores in different nationals. So Alex also talks about Shopify Plus, so that was interesting to learn about, because I just use the normal Shopify along with a whole bunch of apps, which works well. But if you've got a massive brand, Shopify Plus is interesting. This section also covers how to use email and SMS marketing, which has been really beneficial for me, so that's really good. And also the best markets for your brand and how to organically go viral on TikTok. So this part basically talks about creating viral social media videos that just go boom and get so much growth and views. Now this is good because he actually not only shows other brands like High Smile who've gone viral from UGC content, but also he shows examples of his Bright Sports brand and videos he's got that have got like 20 to 50 million views, how they've done that, and kind of walks through the structure of it. So it's actually something you can learn from. And then module 7, which is the last one in this particular course, this basically talks about high level and end game. So when you reach that peak and basically how to get to end game. So it talks about how to scale to $1 million revenue months, which is obviously everyone's dream, right? And a plan to basically outline for hopefully a $10 million exit. So if you're building a brand or a random store to try and kind of hopefully exit it, it basically talks about trying to get there, right? And how to reach new levels. Now he's making multi-millions of dollars a month, so he's not looking for a $10 million exit. I imagine he's probably looking for a $100 million exit, for an example, or maybe multi-hundreds. I don't know what his revenue is, but he's making some pretty serious revenue. So Alex clearly knows what he's talking about, and he did actually, according to the course, make over $4 million of revenue in one single month, which I believe was on a Black Friday maybe 1 or 2 years ago, which is pretty crazy. So you're basically learning from someone who's been at a really high level, and personally for me, I find that really valuable. Now I consider myself quite an advanced media buyer at this point. I really know Facebook ads back to back, and I'm pretty adept at TikTok ads, but I haven't really ventured into Google ads. And I've seen some decent revenue figures this year, which I've shown on the channel from those particular platforms. But I like that he actually covers on how to actually use Google ads, because it's something which I'm kind of yet to learn and get into myself. And obviously when I learn those skills, I will teach those on this channel too. But it's something which I've not really delved too deep into, so I do appreciate there is a section on that too. And there was a course on Google ads also in Capital Club, a standalone course, which we'll get to reviewing a little bit later. I also like the breakdown of what makes a good ad. That was particularly useful to me, especially for newcomers who are just literally basically re-uploading other people's videos or only solely ripping content. This is actually going to show you how to make your own and why they work. And as I mentioned earlier, he basically covers Triple Whale and its tracking features and why they're so powerful and why you need it. Because if you've used a profit tracker app, I personally use True Profit, but I've also used Triple Whale, you'll realize the crucial importance of actually using one, because I've burned hundreds of dollars a day losing money, bleeding cash, because I've tried to scale things which weren't actually profitable because Facebook was giving me bad information. So this is really good for newcomers, for example, to learn this, because not many people actually stress the importance of it. Okay, this is really lucrative, because if you want to lose money, which nobody wants to do, then don't follow the advice. But if you want to save money and make money, you really do need to use a good profit tracker app and also a good ad manager app like Triple Whale, right? And I also like the team building structure video in general. One thing that I've learned from making some decent revenue so far with dropshipping, I'm obviously not at the highest of levels, but one thing I have learned is it is actually pretty important at least to hire 1 or 2 people when you actually get some good numbers. So like I said before, I have hired customer service so far. That's all I've really actually needed. But from there, I didn't really find good information at the start when I was actually learning on team structure and team building anywhere else online. Sometimes you hear people talk about like onlinejobs.ph and hiring people for cheap, or going on Fiverr for an example, but nobody kind of gives you the recipe. So I might actually make a video on that actually, because I think that'd help some people. But this section of the course will really help out people looking for those kind of missing answers. And his brand has also clearly got millions of views from TikTok and organic social media content views. So it's safe to say they at least know how to go viral, and they'll use some of these same sentiments in their actual ad creatives that they use for paid traffic, you know, in their paid campaigns. It's basically the same formula. So the module which breaks down on how to recreate their success on TikTok was really useful information for me too, because I have my own formula for ad creatives. It's interesting to see if other people have like a different formula or what their advice is, and then kind of incorporate it into your own kind of formula and structure. And of course the final module, like I said, which talked about reaching the highest of levels, this was really great for me because I'm always trying to see how these people who do crazy numbers operate and how they manage everything and what the secret sauce is, right? Because most of these courses out there are just beginner courses. All of them are just the same, right? They kind of teach the same aspects, but these small aspects that courses like this one in Capital Club do and some of the more premium courses and mentorships teach make this course that much better than the others, because you're learning from someone else's real experience, not just regurgitated information, and how they particularly operate, because everyone does it in a unique way. So you can always learn like one or two snippets of information from someone, which is what I usually do when I join these courses. I always learn like one or two new things which I incorporate, and it just helps me by like 10% with like my business. Master the Art of Performance Creative is the next course that we're going to be talking about in Capital Club. So this is taught by someone called Daniel Amel, and basically he owns an e-commerce brand which you may have known about because a lot of people talk about on YouTube as an example. Along with things like Hi Smile, this is one of the big examples of an 8-figure brand, which is none other than Bleem. Bleem.com, the crystal hair eraser, this is the brand that he owns. He doesn't really openly talk about it, but I've heard kind of on the low that he does own this brand. And he also owns a creative agency called Studio. So when he's teaching ad creatives, he's speaking from the authority of not only an 8-figure brand owner, but also an ad creative agency owner. So he's speaking from two different angles. Now this is a 6-module course, right? And this covers everything from how creatives affect your performance to the impact of iOS 14 and kind of like the detriment that caused on Facebook as a platform, brand awareness versus direct response ads and how they differ to each other, how to use data-driven strategies, the myths of different ad creatives, comparing good ads versus bad ads, how to find inspiration online, underrated types of ads to try, which are cool too, so examples and kind of different underrated frameworks and types of ads which you probably haven't heard of, and also how to form a creative concept through starting with script writing and storyboards to kind of build up that structure first before you create them, along with the importance of headlines and thumbnails, which you can also use. I don't really use thumbnails on Facebook ads. I know a lot of people swear by them, but I don't really think they matter, to be honest. And also metrics to look out for when you actually assess the information in data and performance to analyze winning ads, because there's actually a few hidden KPIs on Facebook which allow you to see like the hook rate and people and how they like interacted with your ads. So when they click on it, was the hook impactful enough for them to keep watching? Did it have a really high hook rate? And also, did it have high watch times? There's so many different metrics. Maybe I should make a video on that, but this is also pretty useful information. So all in all, I would say genuinely I found this one to be a really strong course, right? Because not only are people showing the importance of ad creatives in 2024, after all, we're completely meant to go broad right now in terms of targeting with marketing and letting the creative do all of the work for us. That's like the meta right now. So it's good that they're actually spreading information like that. And this is just a skill you need to dial in, right? And this course definitely teaches everything you need to know about that. If you're not focusing on creative, if you're still testing interest on Facebook, honestly, you're just sleeping on making a lot of money, because that's just outdated information from 10 years ago. Unlock Ecom Profits with Email Marketing is the next course that we're going to cover. This is a course which is taught by Joshua Chin in Capital Club, and he's basically the CEO of an email marketing agency called Kronos. So he has pretty good exposure to the craft, working with high-profile clients and brands. So this course basically teaches you both the fundamentals of email marketing and also SMS marketing too. Now, at the peak of my winning product, I was making some pretty good figures just from email marketing alone. So for an example, I could easily print like 10% of what we were making that day just by sending an email out for the day, which was pretty cool. And that was really good because if we were losing money on that day or maybe the margins were down, I could bring them up by just sending one email out to my subscribers, because I built up an email list for around 15 to 16,000 at the time, which is quite a lot of people just to push random emails and products to. And at the start, I did have quite a high open rate and click-through rate of the emails too. So trust me, you don't want to be sleeping on email marketing because it's really underrated and I don't really see many people talking about it, which is strange because I only see like the top players talking about email marketing and the huge brand owners. The dropshippers just don't really seem to be using it or just talking about it on YouTube for some reason. Now Josh's 5-module course basically focuses on teaching the fundamentals of how to use the Klaviyo email marketing app. to use it for things like lead capture and subscriber conversion, nurturing those subscribers, and how to keep them in your funnel and then turn them into buyers. So he first teaches you how to actually set up email flows with Klaviyo so you can take advantage of email marketing itself, and then to split test them and then segment them into different audiences and different lists. So some of the flows that you get taught in this course are things like abandoned cart recovery, new customer nurture flows, upsells and cross-selling, and also how to actually create repeat buyers and target them on a particular list. There's also information on how to create VIP customers who you can then offer sales and exclusive discounts to, and offer early access to drops and things like Black Friday deal accesses before they actually launch, which is really good when you have a brand. You can send them like access with a password like a few hours early before you open it to the public, and it gives them that kind of exclusive premium offering. Now, some of the most lucrative parts of this course were how to teach you to optimize your funnel, how to actually regularly maintain your email list by cleaning it to make sure you have a high quality audience which is still engaged, because after a while when people forget about your website, or if you forget to send regular emails, people forget what your website is and if they even ordered from it, and they'll usually unsubscribe from your list, or they'll just stop opening your emails because they'll lose interest. So when you clean your email list, you keep the engagement quite high, and this is something they talk about in this video, which of course then leads on to optimizing delivery management, as well as creating dedicated sender domains for trustworthiness, and then setting up a better workflow. So the final module, which is module 5, this basically talks about creating campaign content and edutainment emails. So that's kind of giving them a mix of like dopamine based entertainment, but also educating them about your products and your brand and just general awareness of your website. Creating sales campaigns, product highlight emails like newcomers, which you've just dropped on your store, or new collections, and customer feature email campaigns. Now, all in all, this course has some really valuable information in my opinion, and as always is taught by specialists who at least know what they're doing. What I like about Capital Club in particular is the fact that all of these courses, they're really high quality, but it's not just smoke and mirrors, it's not just about the camera and the HD quality. It's basically taught by people who are respectively very big in their own field. So it's not just taught by Luke Belmar, for an example, who just teaches everything. It's taught by someone specifically in that craft who's done really big numbers and has data to back up that they've done those big numbers. So that's what I really liked about this, which I think is very optimal. Next up is the Tik Tok Drop Shipping Bootcamp. So this is taught by a YouTuber called Anthony Eclipse. So he's another e-commerce YouTuber just like me on the platform, and I'm not really sure about his stats. I'm not really sure if he shows his stats of his real stores. I think he does show some proof and evidence of his revenue figures on YouTube. I'm not really sure if he has any brands or any big stores that he reveals, but I think he does expose his revenue figures. But he's primarily, I think, a drop shipper, and although he probably doesn't reveal the stores, I have seen his channel before and he does all in all seem to be quite legit, and he uses kind of a few similar tactics to me when I was on TikTok ads. So I think as a whole, he does seem like he knows what he's talking about. And a lot of you guys who follow this channel, maybe if you've been following it for a few months, you may remember the early videos I did this year when I was just focusing on TikTok ads, and we printed quite a lot of money on that platform. So I'm interested to see how Anthony actually does stuff and if he does stuff differently, because I'm pretty sure he follows some of the same techniques, but obviously this course might have some updated strategies in relation to his YouTube channel. So in total, there's 11 different modules within this course. Firstly, it covers a bunch of different successful brands which actually started out with dropshipping as their method of fulfillment and commerce, the difference between organic dropshipping and also dropshipping via paid marketing, and the real expectations and mindset you have when actually getting into dropshipping. Now, getting onto the real stuff, the second module is going to cover product research, which a lot of people want to find information on because there's always new and updated tools, techniques, and methods out there. So people always want to kind of see this subject and see if there's anything new to offer for them. So I will cover this section. So basically it covers an introduction and then talks about the criteria of what a winning product is and what it should have and how to identify it, and then also different types of products to avoid which are not going to be winners. There are a few different product research methods on this that he talks about too, as well as talking about how to spy on ads from competitors. So a lot of the core basics you need to know when doing market research. The third module then goes through how to build a store and get to the point where you start selling on it, and it covers the most basics. Now, we all for the most part know how to build a store, so there's not really much else to say on that, but it shows you enough. You're then taught how to obtain different suppliers, which I believe he mainly talks about using big websites like CJ Dropshipping. I think the one he might recommend was Zendrop, I can't remember, but he talks about like the main websites. I personally think you should get a private supplier, but he covers like the basic main popular popular websites. And also he does talk about how to correctly and efficiently price your products for the maximum profit potential. Now there is also some good content in here on how to design a good product page and website that actually converts, and then how to optimize it too, with different things like GIFs and content which makes it stand out. The 6th module basically covers some useful apps like importing reviews to create a little bit of social proof on your website, setting up a currency converter so people from different countries can actually buy from your store and feel like they're at home when shopping on it, and also how to set up things like size charts. There's quite a few different things in this module which teaches you just general setup. There is also, however, regardless of what I said before, there was actually a little bit of information on private suppliers on the course. There was customer support practices which are pretty useful too. There's also information about things like refunds and exchanges and what to do if you obviously run into those problems, and also things on testing and scaling different new products, and also how to manage inventory and branding of your actual store. So there was a big multitude of information in this course, and if you are using TikTok, I feel like it has at least enough for you to get started and kind of get to the point where you are scaling. And of course the course did actually have some real case studies on winning products too, so I can't really fault them on that either. Now the 10th module is basically covering specifically how to run paid ads, because they've walked us through getting started, how to build a store, how to find the product. Now it's all about marketing. So in this section he obviously goes through the basics, how to set up the TikTok pixel, the best marketing strategy which Anthony recommends right now. His strategies, I noticed when I watched his YouTube a few months ago, they were always changing. I guess it's good that he keeps up to date, or he's always testing stuff. So obviously his strategies are probably going to change, and I think they were a little bit different to what he was promoting on YouTube. But he does have a few different strategies. He talks about a few different strategies here. Some involve spamming various campaign types, which aren't really, in my opinion, best practice, because when you start spamming campaigns, sometimes TikTok will blacklist you or ban you for botting because they think that you're using like algorithms or bots to do that. But they probably still work to make money and scale. They're probably just not the best practices recommended by TikTok for your account, but these kind of guerrilla methods of marketing do actually work. So all in all, I think this course probably is just good enough for a newcomer or a beginner to get started with dropshipping and learn everything they need before getting into TikTok e-commerce specifically. Although one thing I would have liked to have seen in this course was cash flow. Anthony didn't really talk about what kind of issues or problems you're going to run into when you have cash flow problems. He didn't really talk about the 20% VAT, which is obviously incurred when running TikTok ads. Obviously, if you're not going to use an agency account, and like me, I'm from the UK, so I have to pay 20% VAT if I use TikTok ads, which is a big problem, and he doesn't talk about this, and how obviously will affect your profit margins greatly. And also how creative exhaustion on TikTok severely impacts your performance, and how TikTok is more of a short-term kind of pump and dump platform for advertising. And also how if you want to make it a little bit more long-term, you've got to pump out tons of new creatives every single week to actually keep it profitable. But all in all, I think it was a pretty decent course. The Science of Google Ads is a course which is taught by Jem Burrow. He's a German founder of a Google Ads agency who manages around 9 figures annually in ad spend with the clients he works for. And it's all about utilizing Google Ads as a marketing channel for your business and how to make the most out of the platform. So this course is split into 9 different modules, and it covers everything from Facebook ads versus Google ads and the difference between them, lead versus demand generation, campaign types and the different ones, what push versus pull marketing is, and then it shows you how to actually open an ad account on Google Ads and how to operate the Google Merchant Center, which is kind of like your base of operations, and then keep a bulletproof setup to actually prevent those suspensions on your account, which we all know about on Facebook, all of us who use Meta, right? How to set up analytical columns, audience segmenting, and just general the setup of your marketing account before you get started. It also dives into things like setting up the Google Pixel to actually track the data on your store, then tracking those conversions and then enhancing them from reading the data, and it explains consent mode and utilizing unique tracking parameters, and that will probably include UTMs, I believe, as well. Now there is a section that I've written down here that covers research in module 6, and basically this is all about keyword research and segmentation, market and competitor research, and making use of useful softwares and tools, and also insights. There's also some interesting snippets on marketing in general. He does talk about things like urgency and scarcity, curiosity, social proof, proof, levels of awareness, and reciprocity. And these are obviously basics of marketing, and you will see these mentioned a few times in different courses on here. So this is a great beginner course in my opinion for anyone who wants to get started with Google Ads, because like I said, I haven't really got too deep into that yet, so I am actually looking to watch as much of this course as possible and rewatch parts of it to make sure I know what I'm doing, because I might be getting into that at some point. Currently I am on module 2 or 3 of this course, and I will be finishing the course because like I said, I am trying to get my e-commerce stores into different marketing channels, especially the branded ones, so I think this will be really useful to learn Google Ads for that reason. As you guys know, I've done some pretty decent figures this year with dropshipping, and it's safe to say I know at least a thing or two about e-commerce and dropshipping, but I've also been working on a brand new brand which I haven't really talked about much. Now this course is interesting because before I actually started dropshipping, back at the start of the pandemic, I was actually taking an interest in Amazon, particularly Amazon FBA, especially back when I was in Taste the Real World and part of that community a little bit more. They did originally have an Amazon FBA course in there, which wasn't really that high quality, but it did teach the basics, and unfortunately now it's no longer present and it wasn't really the best. Now I did actually end up transitioning to focus more on this YouTube channel which you're watching right now, and a few other small side hustles back then, as well as my main gaming channel, but this was mainly due to a lack of knowledge in Amazon FBA and where to get started and the complexities of it, because there was no real good information on the good practices of selling on Amazon back then, or any good courses that I could find. So this course particularly interested me when I saw it on Capital Club, because who knows how things would have turned out if I actually had a course like this to teach me how to sell on Amazon. Maybe I'd actually be an Amazon seller instead of a dropshipper, right? So it just goes to show how things could be. But that's why I found this course interesting and why I'd actually just generally like to learn about it. And anything to do with e-commerce, you can always use similar strategies, right? Even if the platform's different. So this course is basically taught by Kenzo Sobri, and he's basically active in the Discord right now a little bit. I think he just recently did an AMA, so he was talking a bit to the community afterwards when this course actually launched. Usually when there's a new course in Capital Club, they'll jump in the Discord, the person who teaches it, and they'll have like an Ask Me Anything section, and then they'll talk a little bit to promote it and also just generally ask questions. Now I think he's around 22 years old, and he claims to have done around $80 million of revenue in digital sales in just 3 years, which is pretty insane. So I feel like this is probably a good course to get started with if you want to get into Amazon, but I haven't watched the full course yet, so I can't really say much more on that. Now, another one of the newest courses is Scaling Past 8 Figures. This is taught by Stuart Tan, and I believe he could be the brother of one of the co-founders of Capital Club, and I'm going to guess that's the case, and also Alvin Poe, who also is the second person in this course, and I believe he exited some kind of company for like $30 million. I'm not sure what kind of company that was. I think it was like a web agency or like a website building software or service, but both these guys are from Singapore. You'll notice that a lot of the people on Capital Club are Singaporean millionaires or billionaires that Luke talks to. I think he likes going to Asia a lot and he has a lot of connections there. But I like these guys. I think they're very friendly, I think they're very relatable, and they have a lot of knowledge to give, and they clearly have the credentials to back it up. But if I'm being completely honest and non-biased though, I did feel like this course was mostly just them yapping. The modules were quite short and there was kind of a lack of diagrams and visuals to actually back up the learning, which I would have appreciated. I don't really need to be a visual learner, but it's always nice when the editing's good and there's something on the screen to actually solidify what people are saying, and I think this course was missing that. I think it was just them talking on camera, and I think it probably wasn't as well edited as the other courses in Capital Club in my opinion. And of course this is a great course for actually learning high level stuff, but it just could have been more dense with things like more information on team structure and diagrams and just more about systems, especially since they're really rich and they've been at that high level. I feel like they could have just had more to give, but that's just my opinion. So Money Talks is basically a series where Luke goes and talks to really high profile individuals or high net worth individuals, and he kind of interviews them and has like a general conversation with them about how they got rich, what their backstory is, and what kind of pieces of information they can give us as the audience to learn from. Many of which of these are multimillionaire tycoons in Singapore, which is kind of like a honeypot that's solely very concentrated with rich people. Now there's some really good episodes in there, particularly about e-commerce, and many of which range from investing to running an agency, media buying, drop shipping, real estate, and even scaling, right? There's a lot of information and kind of niches for any kind of entrepreneur in here. Now these are all like individual podcasts in their own, but they're really high quality and they're shot with great equipment and of course exclusive to Capital Club, so you're not going to find them on YouTube. Now I learned a lot from here. It's kind of like mini mentorships each episode with a lot of high profile people which you just wouldn't get access to normally. Now, if you've seen Luke Belmar on YouTube, you'll know he has this series called Datasets, and he's basically just given pieces of information he's learned from things like books or quotes that he's kind of seen just randomly out there. And these are kind of bite-sized pieces of advice which he just puts out there, right? Now, there's an exclusive actual series on here of the same name, which is dedicated to those in Capital Club. And these are mainly just for people who are looking for mindset or motivation, but it can be quite interesting to watch. And he just has a ton of them in here. He just, anytime something comes to his head or he thinks of something smart to do with a business, he just shoots it and uploads it, and most of the time they're actually pretty good. Luke also has another course in Capital Club which is called the Anthropology of Consumerism, which, if you're aware of some of his old work he did online in terms of journalism, he basically wrote quite a famous article, at least in this space, on medium.com, which was actually titled the exact same as this course, and that's what the course is actually based on, his thesis which he published back then. And if you're not really sure what it's about, it basically dives into the whole behavioural patterns of consumers, and why they purchase things and why they think what they do before they actually spend money online. So it's actually a really fascinating course in terms of theory, to try to understand why people behave in certain ways and why they buy things, for an example. Now, this is actually a really interesting series, especially as a marketer myself, because in e-commerce and dropshipping we have to actually learn a multitude of marketing knowledge and information to actually be able to sell to people. And as a brand owner as well, I found this quite interesting to watch, although I was aware of most of the information already at this point. But I will say that this could be a must watch as a beginner course, because I think a lot of beginners who don't really know too much about marketing yet could find a lot of this really invaluable. So it's split into 5 different modules, so basically it dives into a whole bunch of things. So we're talking primal values, pain avoidance, the seeking of pleasure, fear and also survival, empathy and reward, nostalgia, personal wellness, efficiency values, friction, social hierarchy, trends and more, things like reciprocity. So at the start of the intro of this video, I did actually tell you if you watched till the end and had a little bit of patience instead of skipping ahead, I would actually reveal to you some secret bonus courses at the end of the video. And I am a man of my word, so I've decided to include those right here. So these are the ones I was talking about, and ones I don't see in any other videos, because there's not really that many videos like this one, reviewing Capital Club, and they also don't really cover everything like I've done here. So let's not waste time, let's jump into it. Confessions of a Central Banker. So this is an interesting series which I did not expect to be on here. It's basically where Luke talks to a man called Ardian Falani. So if you're wondering who he is, he's basically an Albanian financial banker and an expert who basically served as the acting governor of the Bank of Albania for 10 whole years, and also he's the CEO, or he was the CEO I believe, of the Italian Albanian Bank. I will admit I haven't actually watched this full series just yet. I've only watched part of the first episode. I'm quite far in, there's 2 parts, but it is an interesting watch and you do really learn a lot when you're hearing it from an insider themselves rather than from the outside. Create, multiply and preserve. So this is basically the foundations of wealth creation and preservation, and this is a series which is taught by Brian Tracy. Now you may know who he is as well. He's quite famous. He's a billionaire who a lot of people know about online. You'll see these finance style niche channels talking about what's Brian Tracy's advice on the stock market. Well, he's basically the ex-CEO of a firm which is actually worth $265 million. So this might be a must watch for you if you're just interested to learn those snippets of information from rich people. The Freedom Entrepreneur Blueprint. So this is taught by someone called Philip Schuffman, and he's an entrepreneur who comes from Austria. So Austria, my favorite country by the way, so I'm a little bit biased here, but I'll say this is a good basic course for anyone who wants to learn about business. If you already have some information and a little bit of knowledge on how funnels work and how things like ClickFunnels and platforms like that work, maybe this series might be a skip for you if you kind of already know that stuff. But it's definitely a good entry level course which is going to teach you everything on creating a digital product from the ground up, particularly an info product, and also a funnel, and then market it through the funnel. So although I did know most of the fundamentals of this course, I will say I think it's definitely a great start, particularly for any influencer, I would say, because this is definitely something an influencer could learn from to sell their digital products and courses, or just generally someone who wants to start a business online selling digital products and info products. Entrepreneur Fit. So a lot of people will be watching this video also to see Nate's advice. So if you didn't know, basically Nate Belmar is Luke Belmar's brother, And I like Nate. He's a likable guy. He seems quite down to earth and humble for the most part, and he does have a lot of knowledge to offer, which sometimes he kind of says on some podcasts, but I feel like he is the brother, which is kind of in the behind the scenes a little bit. So it's nice that he has his own course in there. He talks about body weight exercise in particular in health, and it's kind of like talking to a sensei the way that he structured this. Okay, it's kind of like you're in a dojo, and I think that's kind of what they wanted to have in terms of the packaging of this course and the feeling that you get when watching it. And of course it's recorded in a very fitting location to exhibit this, and I would however like, in my opinion, Nate to actually focus a little bit more or go a little bit more in depth in a way into the whole nutrition side of things, because he is obviously quite shredded, he's quite lean. So if he went more into his diet and more of the biohacking routines, which I think a lot of people follow him for, I think that definitely would have improved this course. I think it's mainly focused on the bodyweight exercise side of things, although he does talk a little bit about biohacking in there, and exercise theory, that's mainly what he focuses on. But hopefully we'll actually see a biohacking course in Capital Club from Nate, because I think in the future I'd really like that a lot. But he does have his own school community, so I'm not sure how much he wants to work on that, but I think that'd just be a great suggestion. Social Dynamics is a course taught by Victor Shmushkovich. So he is basically the owner of an 8-figure digital marketing company, and what's impressive is you actually learn after watching a little bit of this course, he was actually the #1 affiliate of Tate's The Real World course. I don't know how long he was doing this for or how long he was the #1 affiliate for. He used that to secure up to 7 figures a month with his agency, which is pretty wild if you think about it. So I will be honest, I think this course in particular contained a lot of theory. It was enjoyable to watch for the most part, but it was more entertaining in my opinion than it was useful to learn. Maybe that's just because I'm kind of like at the advanced stage, but it focuses on building a team and kind of like the foundations that you have to lay down, the whole brickwork of building like a successful team in a business, which is similar to the 8-figure entrepreneur course in here that I also covered earlier in this video. But I would say that the Social Dynamics course is actually better than that course, so I will give them that. Your Roadmap to Money in the 2020s. So this course is taught by Mark Joyner. Now, he's been at the forefront of multiple startups. I'm not sure what those startups are, but that's what it says in Capital Club, so we're going to have to take the word for it. But I'm going to be completely unbiased when talking about this, as you know, so I'm going to be brutally honest. I will say that I was quite skeptical with this course, okay? Because on the Capital Club launch stream, which they did when they were basically launching the community, a lot of people in the comments on the stream and myself, they did find this guy's presentation speech on that stream to be slightly boring and mostly yapping, but he did redeem himself a little bit with this course, I will say, because he does speak about some really interesting topics. For an example, AI and robotics, quantum computing, and more of those kind of interesting new age things. So it's more theory crafting when you're watching this, to be honest, than anything, but I will say it was actually pretty interesting. There's also a bunch of courses which are actually upcoming either this month or in the next few months, all the way through to the end of the year. So it just goes show that if you actually sign up to Capital Club and pay the annual membership, you will actually get content later in the year, because they're kind of using a drip feed approach where they give you new content slowly over time. But that's also because they have to be in like the pre-production, production and post-production phases to actually develop that content for us as well, and source those people who can be those keynote speakers and presenters in the digital courses. So what's pretty cool is when you join, you don't just join, absorb all the information and then you've got nothing left. They are going to keep giving you stuff, which is pretty cool. So it's not like you join for a year and get all the content straight away. For example, there is a watch trading course by the guys over at the Timepiece Trading, I think it's in Miami, and those guys seem pretty cool. And in my opinion, I don't really know how the watch selling game works, how they even secure that capital to begin with to buy multi-million-dollar watches. So that'll be interesting to learn about. They have a bodyweight exercise course, which is not from Nate, it's from someone else. And they also have drop shipping in EU markets. I think this is taught by Ecom Legend, and that guy's really cool. I like watching his videos, so that should be pretty good. And then they have some courses on like expanding your social presence, which is probably to do with influencers. So yeah, there's some pretty cool content coming up, so I thought I'd mention that as well. There's also a private Discord community which you get access to when you join Capital Club. Okay, there's a few fan Discords out there, but this is the real deal. This is where the live streams happen, which are uploaded later on the archive on the website I told you about earlier in the video. So in here, there's quite a few different things. For example, there's a VIP chat here, and this is where the members talk, who are obviously part of Capital Club. And you'll notice where a lot of the coaches actually talk when they're actually doing AMAs or live streams. For an example, we have Anthony from that dropshipping course I talked about earlier in this video here. So he's talking in the chat. If we scroll down, we have quite a few people in here who are basically talking. There's also a win section on here, so if we do scroll down, we do actually have a win section. It's called Capital Club Wins, and basically in this section, this is where people are obviously showing off their milestones and achievements, what they've accomplished. So this guy, as you can see, from doing EU drop shipping, he surprised his dad with a car. Now, this is actually Ecom Legend, who's actually quite popular on YouTube. Like I said, I did mention this guy a few moments ago in the video. He is actually big in Ecom already. He's actually one of the coaches of one of the upcoming courses. He's not a student, but you can see that's good. They're actually active in the community too. We also have a few members. Everything basically in here, from people like getting sales and making money off certain side hustles, things like physique updates like this guy down here and what he eats. So there's a lot of cool information here. Everyone's supporting each other, and it's very similar to the real world, which had this section too. So that's pretty cool. So there is an active community. I will say this is nearly as active as the real world too, I must say. So between those two communities, I think they're both great because these are actually active. In a lot of the other digital products, the communities are just dead, but this actually does have an active community in Capital Club. I don't really post in here, which I'm guilty of. I really love the Capital Club website, but I should probably be more social in here. But yeah, pretty cool. There's also sections here where people can share their own things, so it's called your dataset. So as you can see, this is kind of like a forum in here where they can share their own advice, things they've learned, mindset and self-development tips. And then also one thing I like is the book library section. So I can't really show you too much in the community because obviously you need to join it, but I'll show you kind of snippets, what I'm allowed to show. But here people are recommending books. So it's kind of like a book club where they post book recommendations, which are mostly things like finance and personal development related and why they're actually worth a read. So we have like this book by Kevin Trudeau. If we scroll down, we have The Subtle Art of Not Giving It F, which is a pretty popular book too. So some pretty cool book recommendations in here. And also there's just a general area for accountability in here. So we have, for example, the gym leaderboard, so people who are tracking the progress and doing the best are posted in here. And people can just basically post gym accountability in this thread and just post daily updates. So pretty cool to keep people staying motivated. Also recently, they did actually announce a meetup. I can't show that right now because if you're not part of it, you probably shouldn't be getting the access to the information. I'm not sure how much I'm allowed to show that, but they basically said they're going to do a meetup dinner in London for members, and they'll have more info on that soon. And I think Luke actually posted that publicly on his Instagram a few days ago anyway, so you can go check that out on his Instagram. I don't think that's Capital Club member exclusive. I think it's going to be open too. But I do love communities with real events and meetups, so it seems like you'll be getting that in Capital Club too, although some of them will be open and some of them will be closed to members and people who are not members. But I think there will be also a hefty price tag on there too. I think you do have to pay like either 1,000 or a few £1,000s to actually attend that, so it's not free. But all in all, it's just like the real world. Like I said, the community seems quite active. They have occasional people posting useful things. They have very frequent updates in here. So to conclude, I think Capital Club is actually worth the money. That's my honest opinion. There's no affiliate links, there's no incentive for me to tell you to actually join here, so take it as you will. Some chunks of knowledge in the course could easily make you 10x the cost of joining Capital Club, okay? I've paid hundreds of dollars to join private communities, countless courses, which I actually used in the last like 2 years to get to where I am now in e-commerce and dropshipping, and I've made way more than I put into those. So if you actually apply yourself in these kind of communities and courses, you will actually get the ROI on it. It's only if you join and slack off that it'll be a waste of money. But if you actually join and do things and learn things and actually practice what you're learning and what they preach, you will basically get a return on your investment in the next couple of months, right? So that's what I believe in. That's why I believe in online education and why I actually believe in buying digital products. I originally thought it was kind of scammy, but I've changed my opinion on that now, and that's why I actually started my own school community to teach people what I know on dropshipping and e-commerce. You can click the link down below if you're interested in that. But think of Capital Club, mostly the website itself, kind of like Netflix but for entrepreneurs. That's my personal view of it, okay? You have content which actually has value in it, not just for entertainment purposes. So instead of watching the new Beverly Hills Cop movie, which I did actually watch, by the way, is pretty awesome, you can actually watch stuff which you learn and then it makes your life better. Sprinkled in with the live streams and other things too, in the community itself, you get quite a lot in that deal. Now, I think this is more of a higher quality community, in my opinion, than a lot of the others out there, because you have the combination of learning with it and also the merit of being part of Capital Club itself, which kind of comes with a cool essence to it, right? And it doesn't really have the bad name that some of the other communities do. For an example, Real World kind of has a little bit of a rusty name to it because Tate obviously doesn't have the best reputation, and obviously a lot of people also attack him for this, that and the other. But Capital Club's quite clean, and you kind of have that kind of exclusivity and premium feeling when joining it, and it's just pretty cool. And I am part of both of those communities, so I'm not really necessarily speaking badly about any of them. All in all, I would actually say I'm happy that I actually joined Capital Club. And of course, this is non-biased, like I said. No affiliate links, no incentive for me to tell you to join. Join if you want to, join if you don't. I don't make any money off that. But if you want, just Google it. If you also want to join my community, click the link down below. Equity Hub on School, very similar to Capital Club. Had that for quite a while as well, just like Capital Club. And if there's anything you actually want to know about Capital Club, which I didn't feature in this video, any questions or things that maybe I missed from this video, let me know in the comments section down below. Post me any questions. But don't forget to like and subscribe, because I am going to be bringing out more videos like this one where I join courses and communities that you may be a little bit skeptical about and explain my actual real experience in there, if they're worth joining, and also just doing general dropshipping challenge videos and sharing all of my knowledge from what I learned making all of the money which I have been making with dropshipping with my stores. I always do case studies and useful videos where I just give you free information. All you have to do is subscribe. So thanks for watching.